She thought she could humiliate a sweet grandma on a plane. But little did she know, her grandson is one of the world's richest men. Watch as a racist young woman meets her match in dignity and courage. Christmas Eve brings drama, confrontation, and unexpected twists. Will arrogance crumble when faced with love and respect? See how a powerful billionaire protects his family and changes hearts. This is the story of lessons learned, forgiveness, and romance. Don't miss this epic Christmas tale. Like, share, and subscribe for more. Martha adjusted the strap of her worn leather bag and glanced out of the airplane window. The world below was a tapestry of twinkling Christmas lights, faint against the darkness of the winter night. She clutched her boarding pass a little tighter, her knuckles whitening. It had been years since she had last seen her grandson, Damien. Life had carried them along different paths, hers full of quiet perseverance, his carved out of wealth and influence. But tonight, on Christmas Eve, she would finally be with him. The thought brought a soft smile to her lips, even as a nervous flutter settled in her stomach. She had always loved traveling, yet flying still had a way of making her feel exposed, small in the vastness of the sky. Martha's eyes lingered on the seat across the aisle, where a young woman with perfectly styled blonde hair was laughing too loudly into her phone. Her designer coat slung carelessly over the armrest. The woman, Vanessa, wore confidence like a crown, a confidence Martha had learned long ago often masked shallowness. But the moment Martha's gaze met hers, the smile faltered just a fraction. Vanessa tilted her head, examining her as if she were a piece of luggage rather than a human being. "Is this seat taken?" Vanessa asked, voice sugary but sharp, already implying an answer she didn't wait for. Martha shook her head politely, attempting to ignore the icy undertone. Vanessa plopped her bag down with a thud, the kind that seemed designed to announce dominance over the space. Martha could feel the tension in the cabin, though it was just the two of them. It was heavy, almost like the plane itself was holding its breath. As the flight attendants made their rounds, a young woman named Alina, with a kind smile and patient eyes, approached Martha. "Would you like some help storing your bag?" she asked softly. Martha nodded gratefully. There was something about Alina's calm presence that immediately made Martha feel a little safer, a little less like the world had been turned upside down for her. Once seated, Martha pulled out a small notebook from her bag. She had always carried one, filling pages with reflections, memories, and the little stories she collected along the way. Today, she scribbled a note to herself. "Remember to breathe. Christmas is for joy, not fear." The plane's engines roared to life, and as it lifted from the ground, the city lights below blurred into a constellation of gold and white. Vanessa, on the other hand, seemed determined to make every second of Martha's flight uncomfortable. She kicked lightly against Martha's seat, barely perceptible, yet deliberate. "Excuse me," Martha said politely, turning her head. Vanessa's lips curled into a smirk. "Oh, I didn't notice you there," she said with a laugh that carried just enough venom to sting. "Just didn't expect someone like you to be flying first class." Martha's chest tightened. She had learned over the years to let such comments slide, but something in Vanessa's tone made her blood simmer, not just for herself, but for the dignity she carried with every step of her life. She ignored the comment and returned to her notebook, writing slowly, "Some people can't see beyond the surface. That's their loss, not mine." The flight progressed, Christmas music playing softly through the cabin's speakers. Martha closed her eyes, letting the melodies wash over her, imagining Damien waiting at the terminal with a smile, his coat flaring in the cold wind as he spotted her. The memory of his laugh, warm and deep, grounded her in the middle of the tension. But Vanessa, oblivious to the magic of the season, leaned over once more. "You really shouldn't wear that," Vanessa said, gesturing to Martha's modest, slightly worn coat. "It looks outdated. Don't you have someone to help you dress?" There was an assumption there, a deliberate undermining of Martha's independence. Martha looked at Vanessa calmly, her eyes meeting the girl's with quiet authority. "I dress for myself," she replied softly, "and for the warmth I need tonight. Christmas Eve is about family, not fashion." Vanessa laughed, high-pitched and dripping with scorn. "Family, huh? Well, maybe your family has better taste than you do." She glanced around, as if inviting the other passengers to join in, though the cabin remained politely silent. Martha felt her pulse rise, but she kept her composure, allowing the girl's arrogance to reveal more about herself than anyone else. A few rows ahead, the young flight attendant Alina noticed the exchange. She approached Martha, lowering her voice. "Some people can't help themselves," she said kindly. "But don't worry, you have more power in this moment than she does." Martha smiled faintly, grateful for the support. There was something almost magical about Alina's words, a subtle reassurance that in this crowded, skyborne world, she was not truly alone. As the plane reached cruising altitude, the first flakes of snow began to fall outside the windows. Tiny, delicate, and unstoppable. Martha's thoughts drifted again to Damien, imagining the Christmas tree in his penthouse apartment, the ornaments reflecting the soft golden lights, the scent of pine mingling with warm chocolate. She pictured his hand reaching for hers in welcome, the look in his eyes saying, "You're home." Vanessa, however, seemed intent on making every minute of Martha's journey uncomfortable. She shifted in her seat, glancing repeatedly at her phone, then back at Martha, as if timing some cruel joke. She whispered something to herself, smirking, and it was clear she intended to humiliate Martha as soon as an opportunity arose. Martha, sensing the brewing storm, simply returned to her notebook, jotting quietly, "Patience and dignity are my allies." Hours passed, and the tension simmered like a dormant fire. Vanessa's glances sharp and invasive. Martha's calm, steady, and unyielding. The plane's cabin grew colder as night deepened, passengers dozing and holiday fatigue. Martha stared at the window once more, the reflection of her face superimposed over the snowy landscape outside. She whispered a silent prayer, not just for safe passage, but for the courage to face whatever awaited when she stepped off the plane. Suddenly, a commotion erupted toward the front of the cabin. A luggage mishap sent a bag tumbling down the aisle. Vanessa jumped up, feigning shock and horror. And Martha could see the exact moment the girl realized she had the attention of nearby passengers. The power dynamics were shifting, though neither woman could yet see the final outcome. Martha straightened, her back, shoulders poised, every gesture calm and deliberate. She understood something Vanessa had not. Strength was silent, resilience invisible, and dignity unassailable. Christmas Eve was about love and reunion. And Martha knew in her bones that her grandson awaited her, not the insults of a spoiled young woman. As the plane began its descent toward the glittering city below, Martha felt a flutter of excitement, nerves mingling with anticipation. Vanessa's eyes lingered, calculating, but there was no true understanding there. Martha had learned long ago that some people could not see beyond their own arrogance. And yet, she knew, as the city lights drew closer, that the real story, the one that mattered, was waiting at the gate. By the time the plane touched down, Martha's heart was full, her spirit unshaken. Vanessa's whispers had not dimmed her resolve, and the soft snow falling outside promised magic and possibility. The stage was set, the players in place. Tomorrow, Christmas Day would reveal truths and perhaps even unexpected connections. But tonight, Martha simply exhaled, letting the hum of the plane soothe her, ready for whatever came next. The plane's wheels screeched softly against the runway as it touched down, a shiver of excitement running through Martha. The city below glittered like a Christmas ornament, streets crisscrossed with gold and white lights, snow dusting the rooftops. She clutched her handbag tightly, feeling the familiar mixture of anticipation and nerves. Today was not just any Christmas. It was the one she had been waiting for, the reunion with Damien that had danced through her dreams for months. Vanessa, however, was undeterred. The moment the seatbelt signs clicked off, she adjusted her coat with a precise, calculated flourish, casting a glance at Martha that could only be described as predatory. "Well, I guess we're getting off now," Vanessa said, voice sweet, but laced with venom. "Try not to trip." She smirked, the kind of smirk that spoke volumes about privilege, ignorance, and arrogance, wrapped neatly together. Martha ignored the remark, standing gracefully as she retrieved her bag. She noticed Vanessa's eyes flicking toward her once more, and this time there was something more in unspoken challenge. It wasn't just about the flight anymore. Vanessa seemed intent on proving herself superior. Without realizing, she was stepping into a story much bigger than her own narrow world. The jet bridge was crowded with passengers hurrying to catch taxis or rendezvous with loved ones. Snowflakes clung to coats and scarves, glinting under the terminal lights. Martha walked steadily, letting the warmth of the city envelop her, each step a quiet testament to her resilience. Vanessa trailed close behind, her heels clicking aggressively on the floor. She whispered under her breath, a haughty little murmur Martha could hear. "Think you can just fly into my world?" It was at the baggage claim that the first true wave of tension struck. Martha waited patiently, scanning the carousel for her luggage, and then felt the unmistakable vibration of someone approaching. Damien, tall, impeccably dressed, his presence commanding yet warm. Martha's heart leaped, and for a moment, the chaos of the terminal melted away. He smiled, and it was a smile that held years of unspoken understanding, care, and affection. "Martha," he said, his voice a low, smooth contrast to the bustling crowd. He reached for her hand, lifting it, briefly, in a gesture of tenderness that spoke volumes. "I've been waiting for this Christmas for months." Martha's eyes welled up. "And I've been waiting for you," she whispered, squeezing his hand. The embrace that followed was brief but powerful, a bridge connecting years of distance, struggles, and quiet hope. Damien's presence was magnetic, and it didn't take long for Martha to realize that Vanessa had noticed him too. Vanessa's expression shifted, curiosity flickering across her otherwise smug features. She had assumed Martha's world was small, constrained, easily mocked. But standing there, witnessing Damien's protective warmth and commanding aura, her assumptions began to crumble, though her pride kept her from admitting it outright. As they moved toward the exit, Vanessa attempted another jab. "Wow, your grandson seems rich," she said, her tone careful, flirtatious, trying to mask shock with feigned indifference. Martha shot her a calm, knowing look, one that hinted at secrets Vanessa was far from uncovering. "Yes," Martha replied simply. "He's very successful. But Christmas isn't about wealth. It's about family, love, and respect." Damien's eyes narrowed slightly as he sensed the undercurrent of hostility. He had always had an instinct for read in people, and Vanessa's beauty and arrogance were immediately apparent. But beneath it, he could sense ignorance, a superficiality that only intrigued him mildly. Still, he was protective. Placing a hand gently on Martha's back, he guided her toward the waiting car outside, subtly positioning himself between her and Vanessa. The air outside the terminal was crisp, snowflakes dancing and clinging to coats and eyelashes. Damien had arranged for a sleek black car to take them to his penthouse. The driver opened the door with a practiced bow, and Martha felt the surreal weight of her grandson's world wrap around her, like a soft, luxurious blanket. Vanessa, unwilling to let the moment go, unchallenged followed with a perfumed breeze, her designer boots crunching on the snow inside the car. The tension thickened. Vanessa tried to make conversation, her voice sugary, aiming to charm and provoke simultaneously. Damien answered politely, his tone neutral but measured, allowing no room for disrespect. Martha watched this exchange quietly, noting Vanessa's attempts to assert superiority and Damien's calm, almost effortless, counterbalance. The more Vanessa spoke, the more Damien seemed intrigued, though he would never admit it yet. There was a curiosity in him, an unspoken recognition of vulnerability beneath arrogance that both amused and puzzled him. As they approached the penthouse, Martha's excitement grew. She remembered decorating Damien's apartment as a child. Little hands, hanging ornaments, tiny fingers smudging the tinsel. Wow. The space was breathtaking. A towering Christmas tree adorned with ornaments. Warm golden lights reflecting off polished marble floors, the faint scent of cinnamon and pine filling the air. The apartment radiated a sense of magic and power. Simultaneously, a combination Martha had never imagined before she had seen Damien rise to such heights. Vanessa's gaze roamed the penthouse, a mixture of awe and envy passing over her face. She had underestimated this world, assuming that wealth alone defined worth. She didn't yet realize that the real measure of someone like Damien was not just money, but integrity, intelligence, and the quiet force of a protective family bond. Dinner that evening was intimate. Damien had prepared a small spread, with Alina assisting in subtle ways behind the scenes. The warmth of the apartment contrasted with Vanessa's icy, calculated smiles. Martha enjoyed every bite of roasted vegetables and tender meat, savoring the aroma, the laughter, and the quiet joy of being reunited. Vanessa, while outwardly polite, tried repeatedly to needle Martha, asking questions that implied incompetence or weakness, though Damien's subtle glances ensured she never succeeded in being overtly cruel. Yet, beneath the tension, something shifted. Damien found himself stealing glances at Vanessa, noticing the moments when her arrogance faltered. When a hint of vulnerability peeked through her rehearsed exterior, Martha noticed it too, her intuition sharp. Vanessa, for all her flaws, was beginning to reveal layers, small cracks in the facade that hinted at humanity, fear, and curiosity. It was subtle, but impossible to ignore. As the night deepened, the three sat by the enormous Christmas tree, lights twinkling, snow falling silently outside. Martha spoke gently, sharing memories of Christmases past, her voice warm and rhythmic. Vanessa listened, frowning occasionally, unsure whether to mock or simply absorb the story. Damien watched her, intrigued, sensing a potential connection that neither fully understood yet. By the end of the evening, the stage was set for even greater tension and unexpected turns. Vanessa's arrogance had been challenged, but not defeated. Damien's protective instincts were at full alert, yet his curiosity toward Vanessa grew. Martha, ever wise and composed, sensed the coming storm, the emotional turbulence that Christmas Eve had unleashed as they retired for the night. Snow blanketing the city in white, Martha whispered softly to herself, "Patience, strength, and love. Tomorrow will reveal everything." Christmas morning arrived like a quiet miracle, snow blanketing the city in soft, sparkling white. Through the tall windows of Damien's penthouse, The early light reflected off polished marble floors, bouncing across the towering Christmas tree that stood proudly in the living room. Martha awoke first, the soft hum of the city below filtering into her room. She felt a mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. Today, she thought, would bring joy. Yes, but also tests of patience and character. Downstairs, Damien was already awake, dressed in a casual but impeccably tailored sweater and trousers. He moved quietly through the kitchen, preparing coffee and small breakfast pastries, the scent of cinnamon and freshly baked bread filling the air. Elena, ever attentive, had arranged flowers and set the table, her calm presence adding a subtle harmony to the morning. Vanessa appeared soon after, descending the grand staircase in a red cashmere coat that seemed to scream luxury. She smiled, though the curve of her lips was sharp, calculated, as if daring anyone to challenge her. Her eyes found Martha's instantly, and Martha returned the look with quiet strength. A silent warning that she would not be toyed with, no matter how pretty or wealthy Vanessa appeared. "Good morning," Vanessa said, voice sweet but edged with a thin layer of condescension. "I see someone's already up." She gestured vaguely toward Martha, though her words carried the implication of judgment. Damien, sensing the underlying hostility, walked beside Martha, subtly positioning himself as a protective buffer. "Good morning," he said evenly, his calm presence leaving no room for sarcasm or cruelty. Vanessa's smile faltered slightly, though she quickly masked it. Breakfast passed with polite conversation, though Vanessa attempted repeatedly to needle Martha, asking questions about her life, her travels, and subtly implying inadequacy. Martha answered gracefully, her words imbued with dignity and quiet confidence, refusing to rise to the bait. Damien's eyes occasionally flicked toward Vanessa, noticing the subtle cracks in her facade moments when her arrogance slipped, revealing insecurity and curiosity. After breakfast, Damien suggested a walk to the nearby Christmas market, a tradition he had cherished since childhood. Martha and Vanessa followed, wrapped in thick coats. Snow crunching beneath their feet, the air crisp and filled with the scents of roasted chestnuts, cinnamon, and pine. Martha reveled in the nostalgia, remembering simpler Christmases spent with Damien as a child, little hands entwined, laughter filling the streets. Vanessa, meanwhile, attempted to insert herself into the conversation, commenting on decorations and luxury shops, as if her material perspective could overshadow the warmth of memory and tradition. It was in the market that the tension escalated. Vanessa spotted a group of street performers, a trio of carolers singing traditional Christmas songs. With a casual smirk, she whispered loud enough for Martha to hear, "Bet they're not even that good. Probably just amateurs." Martha's eyes met hers, calm but piercing. "Some things," she said softly, "are meant to be appreciated for the heart, not perfection." Vanessa laughed, a sound sharp and hollow. Yet Martha noticed a fleeting hesitation in her expression. Damien, walking slightly ahead, turned back and caught the exchange. A subtle frown creased his forehead. "Vanessa," he said gently, but firmly, "you might want to reconsider how you speak to my grandmother." Vanessa's lips parted slightly, surprised by the protective tone. She had assumed Damien's wealth would align him with her, that he might dismiss Martha as unimportant. But he did no such thing. Instead, he subtly reminded her that respect was non-negotiable. Despite the morning tension, moments of vulnerability began to emerge. Vanessa, while still defensive, allowed herself to be drawn into small conversations with Damien. She asked about his childhood, the traditions he remembered, and found herself laughing occasionally at his dry humor. Martha observed quietly, noting the subtle transformation. Vanessa's sharp edges were beginning to soften. Though she remained oblivious to the powerful attraction Damien felt in, attraction born not just of beauty, but of glimpses into vulnerability and honesty beneath her arrogant exterior. As the day progressed, Damien suggested returning to the penthouse for a surprise. Martha's curiosity was piqued. Vanessa's eyes glittered with a mix of intrigue and competitiveness. Once inside, Damien revealed a room filled with photographs and letters from past Christmases, meticulously preserved. He had curated this space as a tribute to family, memory, and tradition. Martha's eyes filled with tears, the depth of thought and care evident in every detail. Vanessa, for all her bravado, was momentarily struck silent. Seeing the power of love and legacy in Damien's careful preservation of the past, the afternoon brought another test. Damien had invited a few close friends, wealthy and influential, to a small, intimate gathering. Vanessa, used to attention, attempted to assert herself, flirting, laughing, and drawing glances. But Damien's subtle guidance ensured she never dominated the room at Martha's expense. At one point, Vanessa tried to make a veiled insult toward Martha's modest attire, but Damien's gaze was sharp and unwavering, and she found herself retreating under his quiet authority. By evening, the three returned to the penthouse, the city lights glowing through the windows like a sea of stars. Martha and Damien shared stories by the fire, laughter mingling with the gentle crackle of flames. Vanessa, sitting nearby, began to show moments of genuine curiosity and humility, asking Martha about family traditions, about the meaning of certain ornaments, and even sharing a rare story from her own childhood, glimpse into a life otherwise shielded by wealth and arrogance. Martha noticed the subtle shifts. Vanessa's attempts at mockery diminished, replaced by tentative respect, though she still struggled with her pride. Damien's eyes lingered on Vanessa more than he cared to admit, drawn to the unpredictability beneath her polished exterior. The protective tension, the brewing attraction, and the lingering Christmas magic combined to create a complex, emotional landscape. As midnight approached, the city outside sparkled under falling snow, each flake reflecting the lights and promises of the season. Martha looked at her grandson and then at Vanessa, sensing that the next day, Christmas Day, would bring revelations, confessions, and perhaps transformations, none of them fully expected. She whispered softly to herself, a prayer and a hope intertwined. May love, courage, and understanding guide them all. Christmas Day dawned crisp and bright, the snow outside Damien's penthouse glimmering like 1,000 scattered diamonds. Inside, the penthouse was warm, filled with the scent of pine, cinnamon, and freshly baked pastries. Martha stood by the window, her hands folded over each other, reflecting on the whirlwind of the last 24 hours. The tension, the subtle lessons, and the laughter, they all led to this moment. Vanessa descended the grand staircase, her coat left behind in the hall. She moved differently, now less arrogant, less performative, more cautious, yet curious. The past 2 days had chipped away at her carefully constructed facade. Martha noticed it instantly, her intuition sharp as ever. Vanessa's eyes met hers, and for a fleeting second, the hostility was gone, replaced by something unreadable: hesitation, acknowledgement, maybe even respect. Damien, arriving with coffee in hand, caught Vanessa's gaze and smiled softly. The attraction between them, simmering since the plane, was now palpable. He had seen her vulnerability, her pride unmasked, and for the first time, he felt something more than simple curiosity. Vanessa, for her part, found herself drawn to Damien's calm strength. The warmth of his presence and the subtle kindness that had extended to Martha from the very start. Breakfast was quiet at first, each person processing the last 2 days. Then, Vanessa nervously broke the silence. "Martha, I want to apologize," she said, voice tentative. Martha's eyes softened. She could see that this apology was not just about politeness. It was genuine. "Thank you, Vanessa," Martha replied. "It takes courage to admit when we've been wrong." Damien's lips curved into a small, approving smile, and Vanessa blushed under the attention. After breakfast, Damien suggested a walk through the nearby park. The snow crunched beneath their boots as they strolled, the air filled with laughter from children and the soft strains of Christmas music from distant speakers. Vanessa, for the first time, seemed genuinely at ease, laughing freely and asking questions about Damien's life, his work, and his family. She even shared little stories from her own past, of mistakes and misunderstandings, of lessons learned too late. Martha walked slightly behind, observing. She saw the change, subtle but undeniable. Vanessa's arrogance had not disappeared entirely, but it had softened, tempered by humility and the warmth of human connection. Damien walked beside Vanessa, his hand brushing hers, intentionally but naturally, a spark of electricity passing between them each time. Neither spoke of it, yet both were acutely aware at the park. Damien stopped near a small frozen fountain, where children were tossing snowballs and parents laughed from nearby benches. "Martha," he said, turning to his grandmother, "thank you for coming. Christmas wouldn't feel complete without you." Martha smiled, her heart swelling. "And thank you for always being the person I knew you would become," she replied. Her eyes then flicked toward Vanessa, who was watching them both, her expression softer than it had been since the flight. It was there, amid the twinkling lights and soft falling snow, that the moment of reckoning arrived. Vanessa, emboldened by the warmth and honesty surrounding her, reached for Damien's hand. I didn't understand before," she admitted quietly. "I judged too quickly, and I want to make it right." Damien's eyes held hers, a complex mixture of amusement, admiration, and attraction. Slowly, he intertwined his fingers with hers, a silent acknowledgement that forgiveness, attraction, and understanding could coexist. Martha, observing, felt a sense of peace. She had always believed that love and dignity could guide even the most obstinate hearts. Watching Damien and Vanessa, she knew that lessons had been learned, bridges built, and hearts opened. She smiled, letting herself be absorbed in the joy of reunion, forgiveness, and newfound connection. Later, back at the penthouse, the family gathered for the final Christmas celebration. Damien's penthouse glowed under the golden lights of the Christmas tree, ornaments reflecting the laughter and warmth that filled the space. Elena moved gracefully among them, ensuring everything ran smoothly. Her calm presence, a grounding force amidst the emotional turbulence. Vanessa, now more relaxed, helped decorate the tree with Martha, hanging ornaments carefully and asking questions about their history. Damien watched, occasionally joining in, their hands brushing occasionally, sparks of connection evident to anyone watching. The dynamic had shifted. Vanessa was no longer an adversary. Damien was no longer just a protector. And Martha's wisdom had orchestrated a transformation in all of them. By nightfall, the city was blanketed in white. Martha, Damien, and Vanessa stood by the window, looking down at the twinkling lights. "Merry Christmas," Martha said softly, her voice carrying a warmth that reached both of them. Damien smiled, drawing Vanessa close. "Merry Christmas," he echoed. Vanessa rested her head briefly on his shoulder, a gesture of trust and affection that had been impossible just days before. The magic of Christmas. Eve had given way to the clarity of Christmas Day. Lessons had been learned. Arrogance and ignorance could be tempered by compassion and understanding. Wealth could never replace dignity, and even the most unlikely hearts could find common ground. Martha felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing her grandson was not only safe and happy, but that new bonds had formed in the most unexpected ways. As the night drew to a close, snow continued to fall gently outside, each flake catching the city lights, turning the world into a quiet, shimmering wonderland. Martha whispered a prayer of gratitude for family, for love, and for the surprising twists of fate that had brought them all together. Damien and Vanessa stood beside her, hands entwined, smiles genuine and soft, the tension and hostility of past days completely transformed in that moment. Martha realized that Christmas wasn't just about reunion or gifts, it was about the power of hearts willing to forgive, learn, and open to new possibilities. And as the city slept under its sparkling blanket of snow, a new chapter had begun for all of them, full of promise, love, and the unshakable magic of family.